All right, so you brought us some really compelling excerpts today about unlocking your potential. And I gotta say, this 25% figure really jumped out at me from the start.
Mm.
Only a quarter of people actually maximize their potential.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's a pretty bold statement.
It is.
And it makes you wonder about, that other 75%. What's holding them back? Is it like a lack of self-awareness? Or maybe they just don't believe in themselves? Or could it even be stuff happening around them that's totally out of their control?
Yeah, I think that's what makes this deep dive so interesting. Because we're not just talking about getting inspired, right? It's about understanding those roadblocks, the things that hold us back inside and out.
Yeah.
I mean, if this source is right, that means there are tons of people out there who are living lives that are just like a fraction of what they could be.
Exactly. And while the source doesn't dive into all the, psychological research on this,
Yeah.
it does give us some clues by looking at these historical figures who seem to just blow past that 25%.
Yeah.
People like Jesus, Buddha, Mother Teresa, they all tapped into something much bigger than themselves, right? Like this sense of purpose that just fueled everything they did. And in the end, they had a huge impact on the world.
And what I find so fascinating is that the source doesn't just say, okay, this only applies to spiritual leaders.
Right.
It actually connects it to the business world, too. It's suggesting that entrepreneurs and innovators, they can also tap into this drive to make a difference.
It is an interesting connection, isn't it? Because we usually put those two things in completely separate boxes.
Right.
You've got spirituality over here and then business way over there.
Yeah.
But what if deep down, they're both driven by the same thing?
Yeah.
Like this desire to create something meaningful, something that outlives you.
So it's not just about making money or building some empire. It's about making sure that what you do has a deeper purpose.
Absolutely.
It's about using your skills, your talents, all of that to make a positive impact.
Mm-hmm.
And that question, how can I make a positive impact?
Mm-hmm.
That's something that people have been asking for centuries.
It's true. It's that human need to find meaning, to leave the world a little better than you found it. Right. And honestly, that might be the key to unlocking that other 75%. And, when we talk about making a positive impact, that brings us to this other big idea in these excerpts, the power of love. And I'm not talking about just, the warm, fuzzy feeling.
Right.
But love as this active force, like something you put into action through helping others and giving back.
I gotta admit, when I first saw love lumped in with, historical figures and business models, I was a little thrown off.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I think the source makes a really good argument.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes you rethink that whole idea of love, right? Like, it's not just something personal.
Right.
Take Mother Teresa, for example. It wasn't romantic love that defined her life or even family in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
It was all about dedicating yourself to others. Seeing the good in everyone, no matter who they were.
And that actually reminds me of something you mentioned earlier.
What's with that?
That quote about the woman who kept that plaque with the message about love being a legacy. Oh, yeah. A life alone soon passes. Only what is done with love will last. Remember that one?
Yes. It's like it gets right to the core of what we're talking about.
Totally.
It's not about how much stuff you have or what you accomplish for yourself. It's about how much love you pour into the world.
Exactly.
It's like that story about the businessman who was super successful, but then he realized that what really made him happy was helping young entrepreneurs. It wasn't about the money anymore or getting awards or anything like that. It was about sharing what he'd learned and helping others succeed.
That is such a good example of how love can motivate us to do things. And then the effects of that just ripple outwards.
And that's where this deep dive gets really practical.
Yeah.
Because it's not enough to just, talk about love and purpose in a vacuum.
Right. The source actually lays out some concrete steps we can take to actually live these principles. See, that's what I like about this source. It doesn't just hit you with all these big ideas and then leave you hanging. It actually gives you something you can use.
Right.
It's like, okay, love and purpose, those sound great, but how do I actually make them happen in my life?
Exactly. And one of the most important things it says is that it all starts with you. It really stresses how important self-acceptance is. Owning your actions and, being kind to yourself. It's almost like you have to lay the groundwork first before love and purpose can really take root.
Yeah, it's that saying, right? You can't pour from an empty cup. You got to take care of yourself before you can really give to other people.
Yeah.
And that kind of makes me think about the emphasis on relationships in the source.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It argues that having strong, loving relationships isn't just some bonus. It's essential.
Yeah.
Like, it's through our connections with other people that we learn and grow and discover how much love and compassion we're really capable of.
And then those relationships become your support system, right? When
Yeah,
things get tough, because let's face it, if you're going after your purpose, there are going to be bumps in the road.
definitely. And
Yeah.
that belief in yourself, it's so important, especially when you remember that whole 25% thing.
Wow.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed,
Yeah.
like, can I actually reach my full potential?
Yeah.
But the source reminds us that it's not about some finish line, some big achievement.
Right.
It's about the journey itself.
Well,
All those little moments of growth and self-discovery.
so don't compare yourself to like a Mother Teresa or whoever. It's more about figuring out what makes you feel alive.
Exactly. What are your unique gifts and passions?
Yeah.
And then do what the source says. Align your actions with those passions, with that desire deep down to make things better. It might be through work or your relationships or being creative
Mm.
or even just, small acts of kindness every day.
And that brings us to that final question from this source that really makes you think.
Hmm.
What is one concrete, meaningful way you can express more love to others today?
Hmm.
It seems so simple on the surface, but it gets right to the heart of what we've been talking about.
It does. It challenges us to take all this inspiration, all these ideas, and actually do something with them.
Mm.
Because at the end of the day, unlocking your potential, it's not some passive thing that just happens to you. It's a choice we make every single day to live a life that's full of purpose, love, and impact. And that choice, as we've seen today, it's not just about us. It sends out these ripples of positive change that touch other people's lives. And that's how we make the world a better place.